Hey everyone, welcome to the moon forecast. This is for the new moon we have coming up in Leo. It's happening on August 16th at 2:37 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or if you're East Coast, it's 5:37 a.m. and Universal Time, which might make it easier if you're in a different time zone than that, is at 9:37 a.m. Um, I'm Kendall with the Bohemian Tarot Girl and Wild Reawakening. Amy, give a shout out to yourself.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm an intuitive energy coach and an circle leader with Wild Ray Awakening. And this is the time we get together and we talk about the upcoming energy that's coming in with this new moon. So I'm glad that you are here to join us as we get into this. This is a really vibrant, kind of creative, heart centered new moon that is coming in. It's actually, there's a lot of energy that's happening with this moon that's going to be significant and like the starting and ending of some cycles. And we're going to talk about that. But overall, it's just such a significant, uplifting, vibrant moon. So, really
Yeah.
excited to talk about what's happening here.
I know I was really excited about this one. I'm like, finally, I feel like some good energy.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch briefly before we jumped into more of the moon energy, just because it's carrying on, is we have this, what people call the Lion's Gate. And I know there's some feelings about this energy. Some people don't think it's a thing because they associate it more with the numerology of the 8-8 day. And it just happens that that date is aligning with this wonderful thing that happens where we have Sirius that aligns with Orion and the Giza pyramids. And so that's really what the Lion's Gate is about that alignment. And it just happens to be on or around that 8-8 date. And so, if you're not really into it, that's fine. It's, to me, it's this chance for this new beginning energy. And that's what I love about it. I feel like this is ushering us into this new moon and kind of clearing some slate clean for us. You might have felt a little bit tired and worn out and slightly off by this energy. But then we have this wonderful Venus energy. And Amy, do you want to speak on that we have
Um,
coming in?
yeah. So, we're recording a couple days before the new moon, obviously. And so on the 13th, and it'll carry over for a couple of days, but on the 13th, Venus is at the exact place in the sky as the sun. Venus, as we know, has, if you've been following us for a while, Venus has been in Leo for, it's going to be in Leo and has been in Leo for an extended period of time because it's currently going retrograde. And so there's only really 5 times in an 8-year period that Venus and the sun are in the exact same place in the sky. Um, you may have heard it called a cazimi, or but it's really a really beautiful conjunction where we have all of this lovely Venus energy, which Venus is, all the good things. It's love, it's money, it's beauty, and all of the things that we want to bring into our life. And so when it is meeting the sun in the sky, it's getting that extra boost of energy to kind of propel those things forward. So I would take advantage of this significant placement and really look at, especially with it being in Leo and Leo being the sign of what lights you up and what feels good to you, and what is playful and what is bold and what moves you forward. It's highly creative. Just using this energy to really get clear and maybe call in some of the things that are most important to you, especially in regards to your own heart and your own direction and your own creative expression, and what you want in your love relationships and what you want for yourself when it pertains to your self love. It's just such a significant period of time to really, really focus on the good aspects that you wish to call in for your life.
Yeah. To me, this happening is when we look at that Venus retrograde. I really feel like this first half of the retrograde, people have been feeling slightly off. You've been revisiting some things that have to do with your love, and you maybe have been disengaging with things in your life that you normally love. And that's okay. It's just giving you room during this time. I think a lot of people can be confused with that energy, but it's giving you room to experience some other things. And as we hit this point and we're moving towards that tail end of the retrograde, this is really that point where we start going, oh, this is something that I want to bring in and continue with my life. And I really feel like as we move into this new moon, this is a great chance for you to really reflect on some of the new pieces that you have brought into your life recently. And maybe things, I'm not necessarily pushing people to let go of anything necessarily with that Venus retrograde energy, because I have a feeling that a lot of things have just been put on hold for some people, and that during this time it's just opening up some space for you to experience some new things so you can bring them and build them into your lifestyle. So just know that as you're going through this energy, that is very much what is happening right now. You're going to start seeing a shift where you feel like that's a connection I want to keep, and you're going to be bringing that into your life and building that around the stuff that you love.
Mhm. And Venus is actually a very prominent part of this new moon. And there's a few other pieces of this puzzle that we're going to put together in regards to Venus and how it's interacting and how it's influencing a lot of the energy right now. Um, but first, I want to kind of talk little bit more about just the new moon in general
For sure.
before we get before we get like in all kinds of other directions, because as we know, like there's always so much more going on than just the moon. I mean, moon energy changes really quickly. um, if you're following along to what the moon is doing, it changes signs about every 2.5 to 3 days. So it is a very short term energy. And we come together to talk about the new moons because when the moon and the sun are in the same place in the sky, which is what happens. And for this one, it is at 23 degrees Leo. So it's towards the end of Leo. It's kind of wrapping things up. Um, you may want to look at your own personal chart to see where 23 degrees of Leo falls and what house that is in. That'll give you an idea of kind of the area of your life that may be having a little bit more exposure or a little bit more significance for you during this time. It's always a good idea for you. So,
Oh, you
um,
feel a little bit.
oh no, is it better?
Yeah.
Okay, technology. um, So it's always a good time just to kind of make it a little more personalized and look at the degrees that these significant transits are happening in your own chart. Leo is, I know I say this all the time, but I really love the Leo energy. And I have some very significant and beautiful Leo people who are in my life. And there's just something about that energy that feels so magnetic and so inspiring and lighthearted and artistic and adventurous and creative. And they are not afraid to show up boldly in their lives. And of course, we always talk about how there's a duality to every sign. Leo is a fire sign and it can be very spontaneous. It can sometimes act before thinking. It can change its mind often. It can also, in its not self uh, reflection, show up more egotistical, self-centered, self-involved. So just be aware of some of the energies that may be coming up with this moon. But ultimately, like Leo is such a heart-centered, bold, beautiful energy. And so to have all of these good aspects coming in at this time is just so inspiring. And not to say it's going to be easy,
No.
because we all know it's life. I mean, there's going to be some messiness. Um, yeah. What do you think about?
Well, it was interesting because I I'm gonna be doing a recording with my friend Carla, and she wanted to talk about, signs and numerology and the numbers behind it. So when I looked at the chart for, this new moon, I was looking at it from that aspect as well. And so I broke down, like, you look at the degrees and you break it down, and it's the meaning behind that 5 is freedom. And that is very much that Leo energy, and bringing in that fire energy in order to really set yourself free and shine. And so that's what I really loved about this energy. It's very uplifting. It's very asking you to step out on a platform and do something for yourself, and making sure that you're shining in that place. And you don't have to, everybody thinks about Leo, I think, as being a superstar, but it's not about you becoming a superstar per se. It's about you being the superstar in your own life. And so that is the most important thing that I really felt came up with all the energies here. It was all about you leading your life in a way that you shine for yourself. And I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, it was really, when I was looking at it, a lot of the theme was making sure that you're connecting with that piece that lights you up. And then you take that and you express it out into the world in its most authentic and beautiful way. And I think that it's so important right now. I think a lot of people are being inspired to kind of step into things that feel more in alignment with who they are, and what they do and what they love. And the more people who do that, I think it's going to create a shift, that's going to like kind of reverberate through, not only just for them, but to everybody else.
Yeah,
So um, it's really like, I don't know. I just love this energy.
I do, because I really feel like it's allowing us to look into the future and really fix some future plans for ourselves and align. And it doesn't necessarily need to be the right thing as far as you know what I mean? Like, it's all about just like that inner knowing that it's right, not necessarily the outside world telling you it's right. It's all about yourself knowing that it's right and doing what lights you up from the inside.
And with Venus being in Leo right now, this is like, I think that what's being emphasized. Um, and just to get a little bit more in depth with why Venus is so significant right now, is that this point where it meets the sun is kind of closing out an 8-year cycle. So if you want to look back at August 2015 and see like what your love life was like, or what your relationships were like, or what your work environment was like, or how you attracted money, um, and look at, or what you were creating, and look at maybe what is coming to a close at this point now, and then recognize that now we are starting a new 8-year cycle with this Leo Venus energy. And so there's a lot that you can start manifesting in that aspect, and getting, the more clear you are on what you want, the more likely it is that you're going to manifest the things that are most important to you. Um, and so,
Yeah, and when we were
ooh,
looking
also,
well,
go
when I
ahead.
was looking at the degrees for this during this moon, it's 18 degrees. And then, okay, so then you break it down and you're into 9, and that in tarot. And I connect tarot and astrology because it's a divination tool that was given to us, and that's really how I connect them. I feel like it speaks to us in a way that allows us to understand, the universe that we live in a little bit better. And so the hermit card in traditional tarot is someone who has their light, within a lantern, and they're carrying it into the darkness up the mountain. And it's really about protecting the light and shining the light towards where you're going. And that person can be a little bit withdrawn, but they have a knowing within them, and it allows them to be guided by that. And I feel like this is that core message, when we look at this time with this new moon, is this Leo retrograde is really telling us at this moment that it's time to make sure that we're leading with our light, and that we're really pursuing what we want with that guiding light that's inside us all, and that knowing that we have within us all. So I think it really wraps, you know, all this moon energy up, that when we're setting our intentions, we really need to be looking at this Venus energy within this time to make those
I really,
intentions really strong.
I
Yes.
love that you brought up the hermit in this, because for one, hermit is Virgo energy, and we're
Mhm.
getting ready to move into that. And with Venus being retrograde, what has been transpiring, I think, for a lot of people is this really deep internal process, where we're going in and we're recognizing maybe ways that we haven't been honoring ourselves in our relationships, or reflecting back on old woundings. One of the things that is going on is that Venus is trying the Chiron in Aries right now. And, we know Chiron is being the wounded healer, and it's usually deep wounds that were created um, during childhood, or maybe even it could even be past life if you want to go in that direction. But it's a deep core wound that kind of will show up in cycles over and over again, because it's something that has been given to you to find healing in, that once you do, you now become um, the healer of that for other people. And so everyone's going to have their Chiron in a different place. But with Venus trining Chiron right now, I think a lot of people are feeling a lot of old stuff being brought up.
Yep.
And it's old stuff not to make you uncomfortable and not to make you um feel sad, or or bring you down or put you in victim mode, but it's old stuff to be like, hey, take a deeper look at this, and maybe look at it from more mature eyes, and a deeper awareness as to why this has affected you for so long, and how you can start to shift that. And just for an example, something that's been coming up for me lately, in regards to relationships, and how they've shown up in my life, is that the other day I was really contemplating about how I feel like I have poured myself and poured love into so many people who did not have the capacity to return it. And so when I start looking at that and going, okay, well, why? What is the why? And why, not only why is that happening, but why have I allowed it? And there's always a bigger story to that. So the more curious you can get about what's coming up for you, the more insight you will probably have to closing out these cycles and moving forward and changing the trajectory of, your relationships, or your relationship with Venus even. So just something to think about.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really important part. And you have the moon also trining with the north node. And so that future that we're going into. So there's this energy of really and it's all within that Aries energy. So, and that's that first sign of the zodiac. It's very passionate and fiery and wanting you to move forward. And so there's this drive for us to really let go and heal and recognize some stuff, and then really step forward with this, which is what I love most about this new moon. It's really empowering us to make these changes without any fear. So it's all about that fiery, passionate energy that we need to step forward.
Yeah. And then one of the other things that I wanted to make a note of is that Venus is also squaring
Mm.
Jupiter in Taurus, which is also getting ready to go retrograde on September 4th. So, which is about the time that Venus will start moving forward again. So we have this square going on, and Jupiter, of course, makes everything bigger, and it, increases things. And so, and Taurus and Leo are both fixed signs, which means that they don't necessarily like a lot of, they like a sense of direction, and they like to know what's happening. And so when they kind of come together, it's kind of like Venus wants to, like, I don't know, Venus, there's something about this energy, and I don't know which one is the one that is the factor in this, but there's something about this energy that is like, okay, you feel like you're ready to move forward, and you have the direction in sight, and you're feeling inspired, and wanting to move. And then there's like almost like this kind of tension that creates this, not a halt, but a wait, a period of waiting for the right moment.
So I can tell you where you're getting that energy. So there is a player in here called Black Moon Lilith, and that can give us some anxiety. But actually, with this square with Uranus and Jupiter, with that moon energy, it's actually giving us this. So you might feel a little bit hesitant, but this all this other energy is really propelling you forward. And honestly, I feel like this energy at this time is super lucky. So anything could happen. I feel like there's an opportunity during this new moon energy where if you put yourself in the right position and you take what's being offered to you, it could be a huge boon in your life, right? A huge thing can come forward from it. So,
Yeah, and we're also seeing that kind of come into play with the sun and the moon are squaring Uranus and Taurus. So we also have that Leo Taurus fixed sign squaring
mhm.
happening again. And Uranus likes to, it's it's the planet that comes in to shake things up. And so when you have this square happening between the sun and the moon, and that, it is very, very possible that something completely unexpected could occur. And I just, when you have two fixed signs who are so used to having a set direction and wanting things to go a certain way, and you have this unexpected energy come in, I just want to express how important it is to let the universe shake things up for you.
Oh,
Let the pieces fall, let the unexpected happen, let whatever, like, kind of the energy I was feeling when I was looking into this was that it could be very much like an eruption or uh, uh, what do you call it? What did I write down? That it could be disruptive and volatile, and it could feel like something's coming to a head. Like
yeah.
you can, and I think that some people are feeling that kind of sense of something getting ready to happen. And
Mhm.
because you don't know what it is, there can be some anxiety with that. But with all this other lucky energy coming in, it's more than likely something that is going to open up and propel you into the direction that you want to go. And it will feel very lucky.
So I would say, ultimately, if you get called or there's an offering that you feel compelled to do, don't hesitate. Go ahead and step into that and try that. You can think about like things that just because you love to do something and your hobby is minus paddleboarding, I love to paddleboard. It doesn't mean you can't try something new, right? So if something new is offered to you, go ahead and try that new offering because it might lead you in in a path somewhere, right? That really connects to your soul. You don't really know how that happens. You can't really see that future path, but it is guiding you towards that end. So definitely take any opportunities that are being brought to you during this time.
Mhm.
What else we got?
For sure. We do have
Right.
Mercury getting ready to go
Ah,
retrograde,
yes. Beautiful Mercury.
and we're in the shadow period, and we always like to give Mercury a hard time.
On the 23rd.
It's the one that goes retrograde the most, like usually 3 to 4 times out of the year, and Mercury is, transportation and communication and technology. So when it goes retrograde, there tends to be some things that get a little glitchy. But it also gives an opportunity to slow down and revisit and revise and, reflect and um, just double check the details on a lot of things and have some room in your schedule for flexibility. Um, because it's always, it can always be a little unpredictable.
Yes. Yes, it really can be. And we have all these planets that are in kind of this review process right now. And Mercury, I feel like always screws a lot of people up. I try not to dwell on it. But if you need to go get your oil changed or anything like that, this is usually my reminder to go do some of the things that I've maybe been putting off before this actually comes in to happen. So that's how I usually take my Mercury retrograde warning is to go get things done that I've been putting off.
Yeah, make sure you have a spare tire, make sure your computers are backed up, make sure that your travel arrangements have flexibility.
Mhm. Exactly. You just got to work with the Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, if you're aware, it is a little bit easier than just thinking that the whole world's against you. Uh,
100%.
But we do, I mean, Mercury is in Virgo at 19 degrees, and Mars is also in Virgo at 22 degrees. And they are trining that Uranus and Taurus, which is shaking things up. So when we talked about things shaking up, even though they're unexpected could happen and it could be a good unexpected, it's still, some people don't do well with that unexpectedness. But then we have this very earthy Mars and Mercury energy coming in. And Virgo likes their list, they like their
I was gonna
plans.
say, it's gonna be okay because you're not
Yeah.
gonna miss anything as a in that Virgo energy, and that Mars energy is just gonna help you build something strong, so you're gonna be fine.
Mars is gonna step in and take over and be like, "We forgot you. This
Mhm.
this is all gonna work out. This is what you need to do. This is the next step." Um, so it's really like a very supportive energy that's coming in with any significant shifts that happen in your life at this time.
Very much. The only other piece that I wanted to sit on really quickly is almost kind of, we have almost a grand cross, and with that we have those feelings that come in, and so we have the north node, we have the midhaven heaven in Leo with the north node in Aries, and the south node in Libra, and the Pluto in Capricorn, so that fire earth air energy. And so just know that there are often, when we see this type of energy online, there are often four things that are important in our life that we need to look at, and use that energy, use those pieces, that fire, earth, and air energy, and really break those down in your life and see what comes to you. So if you want to take a second, during this new moon and really look at those pieces, that's where I'd advise you. And that's going to help you break through and really guide you where you need to go in your life. So if you really are unsure, I think a lot of people, there are some people that know exactly where they want to go. They know, they can see the signs that are being given to them. And there are other people that feel a little more adrift. And that is totally fine. And I think you can do your own work. And this is what that energy is allowing you to do, is to take these pieces and do a little bit work, yourself. And that doesn't mean you need to, hide away. You need to do meditation. Really just sit down and ask yourself some questions and check in with yourself and figure out what is connecting in this energy and where it's asking you to walk forward in your life. And I think that's the most important part.
And with new moon energy, of course, we always look at that as the time when we're getting ready to set intentions so that they can grow as the moon grows till it's full. And then, of course, there's other cycles that are involved with that. But I would especially say that, sorry, I'm tickling my throat, that that during this time, if you're really wanting to get clear on setting some intentions with this moon, to really focus on maybe what you want your relationships to look like, or what you want your the beauty in your life, to resemble. And it's also really like a lot of that Venus energy and a lot of that creative energy. What are you creating right now? What are you feeling compelled to create? What is lights you up from the inside that you want to share with the world? These are all like really important things to consider during this energy. And the more clear you can get on it now, the more easily you're going to see it evolve into something concrete over the next, you know, several months to a year,
Yep.
or 4 years, because we're in that 8 year cycle, that 8 year cycle with this Venus. So it could be 8 years, but there's something significant that happens at the 4 year point when you're in the middle of that, where you can kind of like see the culmination of everything that has started now.
For sure. I think this is great energy. So I hope everyone really utilizes this, time to figure out what the new spark in your life is that you want to create, really set those intentions and get yourself moving forward. So everyone have a great new moon, and we'll see you next time for the full moon. And make sure to join us for our moon circle event that we have coming up, and that'll be hosted on I believe Tuesday evening at 5 p.m. Pacific. So join us. We're on Facebook at Wild Reawakening. We'd really appreciate you following us and staying connected. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.